So you're saying capitalism creates homogenize?
It sure seems like it, doesn't it?
Well, McDonald's needs to grow and to keep growing, or Walmart needs to grow. Until Walmart came along, there was a lot of small towns that didn't have access to a department store.
And small towns, when Walmart comes, there's a lot of those local businesses that go under
That's
because they
correct.
literally can't compete.
Right.
Leave your unapologetic hunger for power at the door. It's time for Carl and Mike.
Welcome to Carl and Mike. How
We're
are
trying out a new coffee shop.
you? We are.
Good to
And
go tacos. Love it.
Thank you. Good to go tacos.
Yeah.
So is it really a coffee shop? Because it's a taco house
No,
and
it's,
a coffee
it's,
shop.
it's
only in Texas.
It's co-branded. Yeah, I think.
Only in
Well, no,
Texas.
I think it's a great idea.
Taco.
Instead of having a standalone taco place or a standalone
Because coffee shop,
house.
people aren't going to do coffee all day,
No.
right? So then
No.
they go for the tacos during the day, and they do coffee
Yeah,
in
and
the
they're
morning.
only open here in the morning and at lunch.
Right.
And so you're going to have coffee for the people that get up early or the people that get up late, like yourself.
Yes.
And then at 3 o'clock, you're done.
Taco
So they
time.
have a lunch. They have a lunch crowd. They're here too. So it's
Have you ever had coffee and a taco at the same time?
Oh, all the time. Are
Really?
you kidding me?
Like
Yeah.
a breakfast taco.
Oh yeah.
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 No, this is a great place to eat.
Right.
It is just a great place to eat.
Well, you
Plus,
know,
we can walk here, so that has something to do with it too.
you can walk here.
I
have
can
to-
walk here.
I have to drive
Yes, you have to drive
far away.
Yeah.
And the new coffee place has music.
And the new coffee place, yeah, and we're going to see what that does in the overhead, the ambient sound here. We'll just see it. We're running a test here, see what happens. So anyway,
Who else? Do you know what today is, Michael?
no.
You've already forgotten?
Is it our anniversary?
It's our 6-month anniversary.
Oh, is it our 6-month anniversary?
Yes, 6 months ago, I pressed the little send button to iTunes, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
I have a report from the home office in Libsyn, Pennsylvania.
And it says,
Just a couple factoids for us
Yep.
in the audience. So we have had over 6,300 served in those 6 months, and we are in 51 countries.
yeah,
So that's kind of pretty cool.
Yeah.
We are kicking ass in Cyprus.
and that one Sherpa in Nepal is hanging in there
You
with
still
us.
got that one person in Nepal
I just-
somehow has hung in.
I don't fucking get that. That's got to be some sort of bot or something, wouldn't you think?
You never know. You just never know.
Yeah.
But if you are out there, Mr. Nepal,
Yeah.
send an email to Carl and Mike.
Send it to us. Yes.
Send it to Carl at carlandmike.net because Mike doesn't read his emails.
No, I don't. Try not to. Anyway.
We also have some reports from the home office. They some recommendations for us.
Oh, really? What did they say?
They said that they would like to
this is
see
from
us
Libsyn?
in the next 6 months. Yeah, Libsyn, Pennsylvania, the home office in Libsyn, Pennsylvania. In the next 6 months, they'd like to see us be 16% more funny.
Oh, is 16% more funny. What does
Well,
the
actually-
home office of Libsyn look like? It's somebody's garage, right? Bob Libsyn? Is that what it is? Oh,
No.
Bob Libsyn and his wife are the two employees of Libsyn.
Of Libsyn, yeah. On the
Yeah, that's
internet, you
kind of
really
the-
never know, do
No,
you?
you really don't. And that's kind of the way that shit goes these days. I mean,
Yes.
it really is.
Yes. Somebody could be a multi-million-dollar company and have, two guys in a garage, and
Yeah.
and somebody else could be a
Yeah.
multi-million-dollar company, have
Yeah.
offices and 1 million employees. Anyway, it's pretty exciting. 6 months. We've talked about a lot of stuff.
We have? Have we solved any problems?
No.
Probably
I don't know if
not.
we have. We've brought up interesting solutions. Though we've had thought leadership ideas.
We have thought leadership.
We've had that. We've given multi-million-dollar business ideas.
We're just leading ourselves, though, with the thoughts.
Yeah.
Or is that what it is? We have a
No.
crowd of two? No, we have the Sherpa.
We have
And the people-
over 6,000 served, Michael.
6,000 served. That's good.
Yeah. So it's a start, and we're going to be doing new things here.
I'd like to know more about who those 6,000... See, that's the thing that's weird about doing these podcasts, is there's really no way to find out who y'all are. There's no way for us to
Well,
know
they could
who y'all
contact
are.
us
You
and
could
say,
contact us.
I am
but there's no way...
here.
So y'all have complete
Anonymity.
Autonomous. No, it's an SAT word that I'm tripping over there. Anyway,
Usually you designers kind of, more than 2 syllables, you're in trouble.
yeah, it's pretty much. But we're completely in the dark about that. And I find that that's really a bizarre thing.
Well, we're not completely in the dark. We know that over 80% of our listeners come from the United States. We know Texas is the #1 state, and Dallas is the #1 area.
Yeah, well, you would expect that. If we were in Des Moines, Des Moines would be the
we
number
have a decent,
one, probably.
we know we have people from Canada and Australia. And
yeah.
But what do you want to know about them? You want to know
number one, well, it's a couple things. Are they male or female?
Yes.
Are they young or are they old?
Yes. All right, so
just stuff like that. I mean, how do you?
We could do a Carl Mike survey.
And who do we send it out to? Because
anyone listening to this right now could respond back to comments at carlmike.net or send us.
I tell you what, you respond to us and say yes, you will fill out a survey, and we will come up with a survey to send to you, and then you send it back.
Oh, well, if they're going to respond to us, then why don't they just respond with information about them, who they are, name, sex,
that would be good.
age, and what do you like about Carl and Mike, or what do you hate about Carl and Mike?
We're not going to spam you or anything. It's just real interesting. I think.
We have no spam capabilities.
And I guess all podcasters have the same kind of problem, trying to get the same kind of issues. They're facing the same kind of issues.
No, because most podcasters are business podcasts, or how to be a great entrepreneur.
And we don't do
self-improvement. We don't do that.
No, we don't do that.
So a lot of them are marketing other things, and so there are people are on their list, so they get to know.
We figure that you are perfect the way you are, and that you don't need any self-improvement. And so
we are the anti-self-improvement.
We are the
podcast.
Anti-self-improvement podcast. Yes, we figured that if you're breathing, you're fine.
Well, there's some breathers that
there's some breathers that aren't fine, but basically we figured that.
And they don't need to be fixed. We don't need to fix them.
Yes,
we don't need
and
to
if you're looking for self-improvement, whether it's weight or mental, there's plenty of podcasts out there that you can go to and get that kind of fix. We're not that kind of fix.
What are they getting here at Carl and Mike, besides pure entertainment gold?
Snarky comments.
Snarky comments?
Snarky comments. 2 people actually talking.
Having real conversations?
Yeah, having real conversations. I think that's kind of the thing. Well, that's what we always did. We have these conversations, and we have for years, and we've enjoyed them. And I think there's probably a lot of people out there that don't have the ability or the opportunity to have the kind of conversations that we've had for 7 years.
And because they don't have friends?
No, it could be. It could be that they're isolated, like the Sherpa. The Sherpa's, somewhere up in the...
Nepal?
Yeah, he's at a base camp. He doesn't have a whole lot of human contact. Yeah. And so who knows what it is, but a lot of people... Huh?
Carl and Mike, the podcast for people that don't have friends, is that what you're saying?
The podcast for shut-ins, yes. No, I'm just saying. No, I'm just saying. There's a lot of people that you don't bring up conversation. You don't bring up subject matters with your friends.
There's people you can't bring up the subject matter. There's people you cannot talk about politics with because they will drive.
Yes.
I can't have that conversation with my sister right
But
now.
I think the part of what we're basically saying is that you should start to have those kind of conversations with people. I think
but they just end up into being an argument.
Well, it could be. If you come at it like I know better than you do, yes, you're going to have that. But if you just start trying to have honest, open conversations about stuff and trying to understand what the differences are, or like we've talked about, a lot of times it's fears.
Right.
Trying to understand their fear. What is it they're upset about and are worried about, and how can that be helped? So that's a big part of what I think. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I think that's what we do.
I like exploring these topics that people don't usually talk about. Politics is the obvious one, but you know what? Religion. Most people just don't bother having a religious conversation, especially because they don't want to be converted or attempted to be saved or whatever.
Well, I think they have the fear that somebody's going to try and do that. A lot of people don't go to yoga classes because they think it's some sort of religious movement that they're trying to convert them. Seriously, they have that. They have that kind of thing. So when you sit down in a yoga class and you're chanting Om, they think that that's somehow an affront to their religious beliefs.
Right.
It's not. It's not. It's trying to understand those differences and what those perceived threats,
Right.
which create fears or concerns, and trying to understand those and get over them.
Right.
And now you're right. There are some people that are, this is the way I believe, and that's the way it's going to be, and you're not going to change me, and I really want you to believe like I do. And if you don't, too bad for you.
Right. Right.
know.
And I think actually, I think I said, what would be my viewpoint towards religion really is a lot of. It's not that I'm not an atheist. I don't know. I don't know I don't have all the answers, and I do think
There, right there is an honest answer.
yeah. But I think there's a lot of people that are like me that way or you that way that don't really get a voice or have anyone talk about shit because it gets so crazy so quick with religion. I know here in Dallas, I would be reluctant to just start a conversation about how I feel about religion until I get a sense of who I'm talking to, because it can quickly.
Well, you don't want to turn
de-evolve.
you don't want to turn them off or have them. Then what happens when you say something like that is they immediately have judgments that flashes up on their internal teleprompter.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
I like that.
I like
They
that.
have an internal teleprompter that flashes up with judgments
Right.
about you based
Right.
on what they've been taught, what they believe, whatever.
Or you hear them talk about, you hear them regurgitate something that somebody else told them.
Yeah. But that's all part of their tapes. Everybody's got their own tapes. And I guess that's the part that's really, I'm 62. I'm coming to grips
What?
with the fact that, not yet.
yet.
That's right. Okay. In May 1st, I'll be 62. But anyway, everybody comes to the table and continues to move on in their little path.
Yeah.
And each one of us gets programmed by what we experience, by our
Right.
life experience, by our family of origin, by the friends that we choose,
right.
the people that we come in contact with, the places that we eat. All of that colors who we are.
Right.
And all of that's different. And everybody has a different kind of thing. And it's
Right.
when you try and make people homogenized. That's
Right.
not an SAT word.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
That's another big copywriting word.
It's a big-
Homogenized.
yeah,
That
would
means
you say that? That's not an SAT word. We need to have a vocabulary, day of the word, a word of the day.
We?
A word of the day.
Okay.
We don't know yet.
So is it
We'll figure it
homogenized?
out
Is that
then.
our word for today?
No, I don't like that one. So trying to, I mean, that's what I think this is all about.
Yeah.
Is just talking. I mean, we're not trying to tell you that we have all the answers. We do have.
We're
a
trying
lot
to tell
of
you
the
that we
questions.
don't have all the answers.
In no uncertain
And
terms.
there's an urge to especially when around religion, there's an urge to define it. There was a thing on Facebook the other day. Somebody wrote, "God is," and then ask people to fill in the blank, right? And so you had all these comments from this on God is love, God is this, God is that. So I wrote on there, and I wrote, God is not reductive. There's an attempt to reduce God into a little box. The Isis box for God is he's this 7th century warrior who's you don't my way or the highway. So everybody tries to reduce God. Some people try to reduce God under their interpretation of the Bible, a book, book.
Yeah. Oh, sure. And a lot of that has to
I
do
don't
with
think
the way
he's-
they
I don't
were
think he's
raised or
reducible.
who they hang with or whatever.
I don't think God is reducible.
Why do you think people try and reduce them?
So they can make sense of it,
Yeah.
have personal meaning. There's an element of wanting to be either reassured that they're a good person or, reserve a space in the hereafter where, there's this element of God almost serves as a role of a parent once you're an adult. I remember as a
that's
kid,
good.
as a kid, being forced to go to church basically. And, it was, to me, it was kind of got boring after the first year because it went around the gospel and there was kind of the same stories and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I already had parents. God wasn't that important to me. As soon as I was done with church, I was off playing baseball.
Yeah.
I didn't think about God another day. I think as you get older, God all of a sudden starts to play a bigger role. Maybe one, because you're closer to dying, or B, you become an adult and you don't have an adult anymore. And I think God serves a parental role.
You
for a lot
physically
of people.
become an adult, but I like this concept. You physically become an adult, but there's always child components to you.
Right.
And as you get older, your child is still looking for
Right.
that adult. They're
Yes.
still looking for those answers. They're still looking for that comfort and that safe place.
Right.
All children are looking for that. They're looking for answers. They're looking to be loved, and they're looking for that safe place. And that's what I would say most religions offer
so when
that,
you
don't they?
Yes. So when you become a zealot,
Yeah.
whatever your religion is, and
Yeah.
you become a zealot around religion,
Uh-huh.
I find you just, it's just like it becomes a narrower and narrower prison cell to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you get this other, where, and by that meaning everything becomes reductive, and there is no, it's all certainty and it's reductive.
Mm-hmm.
Or you get this thing, there's this element of irresponsibility with it. Like, oh, well, I guess, God didn't want me to have this. Well, maybe if you would have got off the couch, God would have wanted you to. You know what? So there's this kind of, it's in God's hands. I have no more responsibility.
Yeah.
Really, God will just tell me what to do.
There's a level of that
So
too.
there's
They're
that
holding
element
over
comes
that.
up.
They're throwing that responsibility over onto somebody else, and maybe part of that has to do with the way you were raised. The tape that were written when you were a child is that you didn't have responsibility. You weren't given responsibility for your actions. Somebody always told you what to do, and so you grow up looking for that as an adult, and you wind up finding that either in religions or political movements, or a combination, God forbid, of both. And or you're looking for that with a spouse, somebody to take care of you,
Right.
Okay. So I think there's a certain aspect of all of us where we revert back to our childhood, and childhood needs, child needs when we're older. Do you think?
Not when it comes to religion.
No. When it comes to anything. I mean, just safety.
Yeah.
When it becomes to comfort, when it becomes to giving me an answer. Well, it could be religious, it could be anything. Give me, love me. That's not a religious thing necessarily. It can be.
Well, Jesus can.
Well,
love you,
I know,
right?
but it's not just love, just religion. There's people that go, I'm looking for love because I didn't have it
Right.
when I was a kid. So
I'm looking
still
for certainty
looking for that.
because I didn't have it.
Yeah, I'm looking for certainty because I didn't have it. I'm looking for answers because I didn't have it. I didn't get it.
Right.
And
there's nothing wrong with looking for answers. I mean,
No, there's nothing wrong. No, everybody looks for answers. The problem is stopping looking because you have a certainty about something. I mean, there's certain things that you can have a certainty about. The oven is hot and it's going to burn my ass if I put my hands on it. That's a fairly certain kind of thing. But big questions like,
Right.
Who is God? What is God? Nature of God? That's pretty big shit.
right.
What's the
Right.
best?
Or is there
what's
even a God? What does that mean?
What
God?
is the best way to live? And everybody defines that on their own, but we still default back to the golden rule.
Right.
And I said,
I like that poster you sent me. Yes, where it's all the religions
I
have.
stumbled on this golden rule because I think we mentioned it yet again. And every religion has got some aspect of some version of that. And it all gets down to treat others the way you want to be treated. Beyond all that, it's just stories and parables and myths and examples of that, or examples not of that.
Yes.
And everybody's trying to build a belief system, weave it around that as a center core. Does that make sense? Seems to.
Yes. I do. One thing I really don't get, and it's not just related to the Bible, because it's also related to the Constitution. And there's this element of, when the Constitution in 1700 got, that's perfection, just as the Bible is perfection. So everything in the Bible must be true. Everything that these guys that built the Constitution is true, and there is no deviation from it. And whereas this kind of this set in time of perfection, and that's the model. And to me, what is this doing? This is picked 7th century Muhammad, whatever he was saying at that time, or whatever was written about him in the 7th century. That's what's true.
Yeah.
Right. You have other people, Scally in the Supreme Court, where no, the Constitution is is set in stone, and anything can be determined, and that is perfection and everything. I don't get that.
Well,
same thing with the Bible.
Well, the Catholic Church, they wanted to try and keep things the way it was.
Right.
The Earth is
right.
flat.
So Galileo
whatever,
comes along with a new thought, and hey, you can't.
Right. And so they're trying to get rid of anything that is a threat.
But why?
To them.
That doesn't make any sense. Things always are in constant change. Things are constantly evolving. That's why I think things are constantly, getting. I mean, yes, something can de-evolve too, but
it's one thing to have a.
Don't you think things are better now than they were 200 years ago?
Well, there's one thing to have an army of believers, but you have to have something to give them marching orders, right?
So you're saying the Constitution of the Bible's
Those
marching
are marching
order.
orders. Yeah.
The Constitution is easier to kind of see because the Constitution was created somewhat like the Bible was created. I mean, the Bible, a bunch of guys got together and decided these books are going to make up this Bible, right? Because there was other Gospels and other things that they could have used, but they chose these ones.
There was an editing process.
There was an editing process.
Yeah, and we don't know what that editing process. That's not written down.
And whatever the people that are in the Bible, it's like it's the Word of God, and God came to these people and told them these are the.
Well, when you say that, you say you can't question it. When
and
you
now
say
you can't question that.
Yeah,
right.
well, when they say
what, you're better than God, yes, exactly.
Yeah,
but like the Constitution, okay, we know since it wasn't that long ago, we know these guys came and there was some brilliance in there, some brilliant minds. There's no question there were some really top of the line minds, but they're still a product of their time.
Yeah, and if
and
you
they
question
still had,
that, are you questioning Ben Franklin? Are you questioning all these people?
I am. And as much as I admire Thomas Jefferson being a great mind, or and really most of them that were in there, doesn't mean that they're infallible and that they know the way it is for everything, especially in this society, which they know nothing of it. And it's not like things our human understanding evolves all the time. I mean, you can see it now. It's really happening fast with technology and stuff. What we can do as a species, just in our lifetime, is dramatically different.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we're getting to the point of doing the whole 9 yards, miracles. So why would you hold everything around what Jefferson said at that time? I mean, I think the Constitution has to evolve with the society.
You'd think.
Yeah.
Well, it has.
Blacks and women didn't exist
It has.
in the
There
Constitution
have been certain
of
things that they've gone back in and changed, but it's taken a war, civil war,
to make that happen. Why did
it took marches.
Yes, a lot of people dying.
Civil disobedience to get the old white guys off dead center to change the shit because it's a threat. It's always a threat. I mean, if you look at these are the people that have always been in power.
Yes,
they feel comfortable with that. They feel entitled to it. They feel like we're the ones that did this to begin with. We're the ones that have got the right answers. Listen to us because we know what's best. Okay, and so when people stand up and go, no, you really don't. And this is what we need you to change. They're going to push back until you push back harder.
right.
There has to be something harder, whether it's a civil war, a revolution, rioting in the streets.
But their pushback is always that is this book or this thing says that something that was created in the past, sometimes way in the past.
Yeah.
That's why we don't make.
Well,
but it's really power at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Is it all just?
No, it's all.
Is
about
it all
power.
mankind just
No,
creating a
it's
bunch of constructs to wield power?
Yeah.
So they just use this shit
power
for
and
power?
influence. Yeah, which usually involves money of some sort.
Yeah.
And usually large sums.
Yeah.
Sure.
Let me ask you, do you agree with this statement? Somebody was saying recently, switching subjects now from politics and religion to sex, because that's what we do here at Carl.
Yeah.
Someone was saying, erotica is sexual, pornography is power.
Erotica is sexual. Probably.
And I think that's more true, probably from a woman perspective.
Yeah. I would say so, but
So
see,
do you think pornography is power? Is really about power, not about sex?
Well, here's okay. I think pornography is a judgment. To some people, certain erotic things would be pornographic.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. All right.
Okay. In other words, to some people, showing a woman's breasts on a movie is pornography. They're just going to have that viewpoint on it. And that's their viewpoint, and that's where they stop. You know, it's like any of that is considered pornographic to them. So I guess the question is, where is that line? Everybody's got their own line about what that is.
So you're saying, sounds like then you're saying, you know, pornography is relative or subjective. One person's pornography is another person's erotica?
It can be, yeah, I think it can be.
So to me, when they're saying pornography it's about power, is because it's
who's
the
saying?
object-
Well, first off, you got to ask who's saying that.
Yeah. Well, they're throwing. Who, it doesn't matter who's saying it. It's
Yeah.
the idea. Is that
Yeah.
idea? Just exploring
Oh,
that idea.
I think it definitely can be viewed that way by a lot of people, either producers of it, or consumers of it, or people who are offended by it. And this is an example. Okay, words that offend. I knew this lady one time. She was an accountant of mine, or the wife of an accountant. There's two words that she just could not listen to, and there were two words that just completely drove her nuts.
Right. What's that?
Fuck
Yes.
and fart. I don't put those two in the same basket,
Right.
but she did.
Yeah. She
And
would have a visceral reaction
Oh,
to
either
word.
one of those words.
Yeah. Some people do have that.
Yeah.
I never got that
And
either.
God forbid that her husband would fart while they were fucking. You know,
Boom,
that would be enough to throw her. But you see what I'm saying?
He probably did once, and that was the end of
Yeah,
that
maybe that
relationship.
was what the deal was. So I don't. You know, it's like that show Sex Box. I tried to get that. Did a search for it on Uverse.
It's on the
and
Wii station.
I know. This morning or
Did you
last
watch
night
it?
last night I recorded it once, and when I went back to watch it, some other program was on. It wasn't Sex Box. What it said it was.
Oh, okay.
And then I went back to record it again today. Did not find a listing. So that thing may have been yanked.
Yeah. Well, I
Because
think
it
you
was
go to their
not
website
getting-
and see some.
It was not getting good review. I mean, it was. And really, seriously, do we need to do that?
What?
Sex Box.
Well, you know.
Okay. Here's a good. You're talking about.
So we were talking about judgments, though. So the
Okay.
judgment would be, I don't know. There's two judgments you could do. One is, if people want to watch it, then and it has an audience, then it has a right to be.
Well, if they want to do that, that's fine. But to me, that whole show, and I've thought about this a little more, and we talked about it. There's two issues on that.
And just so for our audience, who's just check out episode 26, Sex in a Box, where we talk about sex in a box.
And what it is, there's two things going on. The people that are the participants that go in the box and have sex, to me, there's a certain degree of exhibitionism about that.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
on their
sure.
part.
Sure.
Okay, and
And everybody wants their-
and with the audience, there's a voyeuristic component to it.
Yes.
Pure
probably.
and simple.
Yes.
From both sides. Yeah, it doesn't matter. You know, there's still kind of one of that exhibitionist kind of thing, or that you kind of think that's going on. You know it's actually the fact that you can't see it is more powerful than seeing it.
Right.
Because in
When they put
the
it in your
audience,
mind.
the audience, every single one of them has a different idea of what's going on in that box.
Everyone's creating a pornographic
But if
movie.
everybody watched it, you pull the box up and you could see what was going on. Everybody would have basically the same experience. They would be watching them have sex.
But you
which
could
is
argue
totally different.
the show is not doing well, so America
no, because
has, in
it's
a
a
sense.
stupid ass idea.
Yeah.
And it was actually a British import.
Well, you know, the
You
Brits
know?
are kind of an eccentric little group sometimes.
And the thing is, when I
Hello
was
to all our
when I was-
UK,
yeah,
our UK fans, which we are very
Well, and when I was doing that image, and that's the reason I came up with that image, I said, is that the kind of product that we really want to push around the world? Do we want that to be a product of the USA or a product of Britain? Is that really what you want the rest of the world to think of when they think of us? And I would say, and our society, and I'd go, really not. You know?
Yeah.
Because
But that's a judgment.
Because Yeah, and because you could easily find a certain number of people that wanted to watch snuff films. So, do you going to produce snuff films and put those out on the Oprah channel? No, you're not going to do that. You know, and I'm not equating what the well, I guess to a certain degree I am. I mean, you can always find an audience for anything. I don't give a shit what it is. Cockfights, dog fights. You can always find an audience for that.
So the question is, do you want to promote to our basis,
Yeah, I don't see why. But for an entertainment standpoint, for an entertainment thing, I don't think so. I just don't.
Or
think so.
should we be more libertarian around it, which is let the audience decide. Someone wants to create.
Well, I think in this respect, it is deciding. Somewhere there was a production company and investors that opened their wallet and said, "We're going to spend the money to do this. We think it's a good idea." We talked about that.
Right.
You can sit around and pitch ideas all day long, but if you don't have the money to produce it, you're pretty much shut out of luck. So somebody did that, and I'm going, really, why? Of all the shit that you could be spending money on, let's say it cost $500,000. Let's say it cost $1 million to produce the episodes that they've got now. Is there not a better place to spend that $1 million? Absolutely.
Well, that's what I always wonder about criminals. Especially not the go try to rob a convenience store criminal, but the criminal that spends a lot of time, effort, planning to do some big crime. Whether it be hacking into other computers, or whether it be a heist of a casino or whatever. It's like, really, do you want to spend all that time and effort? If you're going to spend if you have the ability to spend that kind of level of thinking, and patience, and effort, and time, why not do something legal?
Yeah.
And make money?
Yeah.
You have the capability.
Well, that's a real good question. Why would they not do that? Because I think there's
the thrill of possibly going to jail?
The thrill of getting caught, the thrill of doing something that you know is wrong. And then some of those people, they just don't know the difference. They flat ass don't know the difference between right and wrong.
They don't have any
concept. No moral compass whatsoever.
Are they born that way, or is that environment, or is that birth, or what?
Wow, that's a real good question.
The ones that have no more, that gets back to the nature of evil kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think part of it is I think there may be a genetic component to that. I don't know. I'm not the right person to ask. I would say
there's a genetic component. That's actually gives us hope, because if there's a genetic component, then with science the way it's going, you would be able to eradicate that gene, would you not?
Well, if there's enough money in eradicating it, which there's not.
Well, we don't even know yet that there is a genetic component.
Well, but what you're saying is you'd have to have the corporations that spend the money to do that, and they're going to be spending money on restless leg syndrome or whatever it is, and so is it a born with and genetic? I don't know. I think a lot of it is learned, but why is it learned? And see, another part of it is I don't know. I really don't know. With people that are that way, who are antisocial personality disorders and just really dysfunctional, I have not had a lot of experience with those until the last few years, and I'm kind of floored that people like that even exist. But in talking to therapists, and several of them, that's what half the prisons are filled with, and the chances of any of them getting any help through therapy is low single digits. Well, that's not something I'm gonna bet on.
All right. Well, I think then we need to be more proactive to look at other forms of rehabilitation. Because if low single digits is not, to me, just says that therapy doesn't work. Does that mean that they're incapable of being, maybe at this time, based on our understanding of therapy, they are?
Yeah.
But maybe it's going in there and flicking a gene.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah.
But one therapist that I talked to, a guy that I've gone to for a number of years, and not currently, but that I really like and trust, he says working with these people is exhausting, emotionally exhausting for him as a therapist.
Yeah, I could see that.
You know, because you have to come in. He said the way he starts every therapy session is you come in, you sit down with him, and he says, I just want you to understand how I'm approaching this. I'm approaching this that everything you say is a lie. That's how he tells the person that he's getting
Why
ready.
does he do that?
Because that's basically the way they operate.
They don't have the capability to tell the truth.
They don't understand the difference between truth and not truth.
They don't understand the difference.
No, it's
In their
all
mind,
about
it's
what
all the
they.
same.
A lot of it's about doing whatever it takes to get what they want when they want it. Period. And it's all about manipulation, and it's a game.
So it's a constant game.
It's a constant game. Yeah.
So
And I don't know.
You're
if
not saying that they've chosen to go that way. You're saying they don't have the capability to be authentic. Authentic is just they may be moments of authenticity, but that's only to manipulate to get something.
You can't assume that there are moments of authenticity with these people.
If they felt like being
Authenticity.
authentic to get something, then maybe they're not being authentic.
No.
Are they?
No. Well,
how
you
do
have
work,
to define
if you assume everything's a lie, then can you work with somebody that if everything's a lie?
You can't and don't. I would avoid people like that, like
well,
the
I
plague.
would too, but I'm saying as a therapist, how do you break through that?
He had to sit down, and if somebody needed help or wanted help or typically pointed to him through the courts, he would have to sit down and think, do I really want to take this on?
Right.
And really decide whether he emotionally, as a therapist, wanted to take it on. They don't have to. Why would you take on something that was just going to like beat you up emotionally? You know, when there's other people that can be helped, and especially when you figure that the high-end cure rate's low single digits.
I think because I think like anything else, it's because it's there. It's a challenge. Can I be? You know, you need someone who says, can I?
Yep.
Let me try to figure this out a different way.
Well, as a young therapist, you may take that on, and if let's say you get into 100 of them, and you've only had 2 or 3 people that have really come out the other side, kinda.
Right.
Do you still want to work those odds?
No.
When you could fit, when
the
you
goal,
could fill
the goal is to find something that works 95% of the time, or 90. You know.
Oh, sure, that's the goal, but
in fact, if therapy is only working 2 or 3% of the time, then therapy is not an effective course of action for someone at that level of being.
Well, neither is prison.
Right.
So you got
So
somebody
maybe
really
that's where getting saved by Jesus really is for someone that is that a possibility that's enough.
It could be a
That could be
possibility.
a place
it could
where
be another
that
way for
level
them.
of thinking.
It could be another way for them to manipulate. Another place for them to hide and manipulate, and that's done too. That's done too. You know, it's just it's a real creepy thing, real creepy deal. People like that are just absolutely.
Well, one of my
nuts.
favorite, or not my favorite movies, the one movie that I really liked was that Ed Norton movie with Richard Gere. Mm-hmm. So Richard Gere, remember he was Richard Gere was a lawyer. What was that movie's name? Now it's going to bother me. And Edward Norton was this kid who was. It turns out at the end that the shadow is really him. Mm-hmm. And do you remember that movie?
No.
I'll have to. I'll come back to it.
We digress.
Yes. But it was a good movie. What I'm saying is, and people that are listening will know what this movie is.
Yeah.
It's escaping me at the moment. But what I'm saying is, it was an example of that personality.
Yeah. Disorder.
But it was such manipulated that you didn't know until the very end that you were thinking that the kid that did bad was the wounded child, right? And there was a childlike innocence, but the childlike innocence was the front to the deep manipulator. The real person at this point was anyway.
Well, the other thing that there seems to be a switch that goes off right around preteens.
Preteens?
8 to 10, whatever.
Yeah.
And they don't know what it is that flips that switch. In a lot of cases, it could be molestation. It could be verbal abuse, physical abuse.
That's all product of environment there.
That is.
That's,
yes.
Okay, so.
As
opposed to some genetic switch.
So there's just kind of a thing that goes, I can't trust anything. So I'm going to create a world in which I can trust and exist
and do whatever I
and
need to do.
do whatever I need to do to survive.
So
and protect
ultimately,
myself.
then that's a self-preservation
It could be
behavior that gets somehow
could
ingrained.
Very well be a self-preservation
well, then
thing.
There's a way.
And so I don't know that it is a.
If that's what it is,
Yeah.
then you reverse engineer from there.
Low single digits, Carl. I don't know what to tell you.
All right. Well, I'm not a therapist, and, but I play one on podcast.
Yeah.
And I'll just say, got to keep digging.
Yeah.
There's a way.
It's just like, I would say a lot of these people are the ones that manipulate the other folks, the leaders of these political religious movements that are happening in the Middle East now. Do we put them in prison, turn the therapists loose with them, and try and re-engineer them, or just pop a cap in their head and move on down the road to the next one? I'd say you pop a cap in their head and move on down to the road. I mean, I'm just not,
Back to popping the cap in the head.
Yeah, well, at some point
it's kind of like the greatest hits show.
Yeah, well, yeah. They're just defective.
But defective can be fixed.
Sometimes. Sometimes you just drive the clunker to the scrapyard and have them melt it down.
No.
Yeah.
Well, no. I think that's an easy way out. That's an easy way out. But if you believe every human being has value, and yes, there could be defectiveness to the point where they need to be kept out of society, and that's what we have prisons for on that. Though I do think prisons are abused. I think there's an opportunity. We're not there yet, either therapeutically or scientifically or medically, to fix the defects. But if it's a defect, it can be fixed. We have physical defects. Human beings don't come out perfect. There's people that come out with autism. There's people that come out with blindness. There's people that come out with spinal whatever, bifida, whatever.
But Carl.
Yes.
You're sitting across from an example of somebody who did come out perfect.
There you go. Well, yes. And,
so whenever you think of that, just think of me.
Think of you? I'm looking at perfection as we speak?
Not hardly.
Yeah, no. Life. Life is complicated and interesting and fascinating. And sublime and profound and frustrating. It's all. It's just a mixture, Michael. Would we have it any other way? What is the desire to wipe out? Would the world evolve if there was no suffering, or pain?
No,
or
probably not. No, I think. Well,
there'd be no impetus.
If everything if the whole world looked like what ISIS wanted it to do, it would be bad news. Just like if the whole world looked like Plano, the suburb in North Dallas.
Yes.
It would be horrible.
Wouldn't be ISIS horrible.
No. Well, okay, let's say.
It'd be homogenized. The word comes
back.
The word of the day.
That is going to be the word of the day, isn't it? Anyway, or if the suburbs of Paris looked like the suburbs of Dallas and had all the same, Bloomin' Onion and Olive Garden and McDonald's and stuff like that. You don't want that. No, you don't want that. You want the differences.
So you're saying,
celebrate the differences.
Yeah, but McDonald's isn't
Embrace
different. McDonald's is the idea of franchises are the same no matter where you go.
Right, and that's the homogenizing of stuff. That's not good.
Yeah, you think that's not good?
No.
Popular.
No, I don't give a shit if it is popular. It's not good. I want Paris to be Paris. I want Plano to be Plano. I want Los Angeles to be
You don't want everything to be the same.
Huh?
Yeah, I agree. I think in America a lot of times it's depressing driving through because it's like, you go from one small town with
if everything's the same
franchises.
You can control it. You can control the cost and thereby make more money, right?
But you lose the culture of the place.
That may not matter if what you're really interested is making money.
Was there culture in
McDonald's? No.
Was there culture in Muskogee, Oklahoma?
Sure.
Absolutely.
There's culture everywhere. Every little town is different, and it's got its own culture and its own, and it's kind of it may not be what you like or what you are.
So you're saying capitalism creates homogenized.
It sure seems like it, doesn't it?
Well, McDonald's needs to grow and to keep growing, or Wal-Mart needs to grow. Until Wal-Mart came along, there was a lot of small towns that didn't have access to a department store.
And small towns, when Walmart comes, there's a lot of those local businesses that go under
That's
because they
correct.
literally can't compete.
Right. So here comes capitalism and Walmart and the need to grow.
It doesn't need to grow; it wants to grow.
It wants to grow.
And there's a big difference between wanting
the
and needing.
stockholders want it to grow.
The money people want it to grow because
Right.
they want their
a higher
wallets to
return
grow.
on the growth. Right. But the way something grows is, okay, we found something that works, and we're just going to replicate what works as far as we can.
Get a rubber stamp and stamp it on every little town.
And so
when
every
you do
little-
that,
right.
yeah, whenever you do that, it's just like that little town that I grew up in
So is this a good thing or
New
a bad
Mexico.
thing?
So yeah, so this little town, Farmington, all of a sudden a big Walmart comes to town, and I've talked to somebody this last week. There's a Walmart on the east side, there's a Walmart on the west side, and I guarantee you, the little grocery stores, the little clothing stores, the little gift shops, all that kind of stuff went under.
Okay, so now I'm going to play devil's advocate here. So the little
They
towns
all went under.
Yes, and the townsfolk are able to have their dollar go further along because Walmart, beat them price wise.
Maybe. Okay, let's say they did.
They must have.
Okay. Well, and what you have to decide, I guess, is that your your wallet shrinking, worth putting your neighbors and other people in the town out of business, and having everybody work for the company store. And it's a company store. In little towns like that, that becomes a company store.
I mean, who does Walmart serve, right? Walmart serves poorer America. So when you've only got if you're in the working class poor, okay, you only got it's at the end of the day you got X amount of dollars to feed, clothe, and provide for your family. They would argue they don't have the luxury to make that choice.
Yeah, but see, I think that's a bullshit thing. Because basically, the people that were in Farmington,
but you're not making.
They were buying.
You're not making $300 a week, Michael.
Well, no. What I'm saying is, those families were living in Farmington before that happened.
Right.
They were shopping at the local Safeway.
Right.
They were buying clothes at the local clothing stores.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Now, were they saving 50 cents on a pair of jeans? Maybe. So you have to make the decision, is it really worth it? And they're not in a position to make those kind of decisions. I'm the whole idea, but see, then what happens is the uniqueness that was that town is now gone because it's got Walmarts on both sides.
Right.
Okay. Its uniqueness is gone.
In
fact, why don't we just start a bunch of small towns and we'll get a Walmart and build a town around it? Okay. The whole town comes up around it. Because that's basically what's happening, except this is in reverse. They come in, the downtowns dry up because Walmart can't move into the downtown. All those little spaces are owned by individual people.
But I'm going to argue with you back. I mean, look at what technology companies are doing, right? They're disruptive. The internet, by its nature, is disruptive to businesses. Uber was disruptive to taxis. You could say, well, that's not, You could make the argument against anything that comes in and wipes out something as being bad. So why is, the public has spoken on Walmart, have they not? It's the biggest.
Yeah.
It's the largest employer in America, by the way, right now.
Yeah.
And people shop there in large numbers, and it's serving a need for the working poor.
Yeah. But the products that they sell are cheaper because they are made not in Des Moines,
right?
Not in Austin, not in New York. They're made in China.
Right, because it's cheaper to make in China.
And the jobs that they offer the locals, who now have to have work,
are retail jobs.
Poor paying jobs.
Right.
So they don't necessarily. I'm not sure what they really help, except the perception that you're going to be able to get these goods here cheaper and all in one place rather than having to go to different stores. You can come here and get your groceries. You can come here and get your clothes. And I'm not a big fan of Walmart. I'm not a big fan of Walmart at all.
You a big fan of Amazon?
Huh? Amazon's different products. I mean,
I just got a notice from Amazon yesterday that they're offering, because I'm a Prime member, I can buy shopping and they'll deliver to my house in 2 hours. And so
you're in one of these zip codes where they'll do that.
Yeah, well, they've just expanded
do
a lot of zip codes.
Do they charge you for it?
No,
the
because I'm
2-hour
a
deal?
Prime member. If I want it in an hour, I get charged $8.
Yeah.
If I want it in 2 hours, I don't get charged
Do they
at all.
limit the stuff that you can get, or absolutely anything that you can find on Amazon? They'll give
Well,
it
they
to
have
you
this
2
app
hours?
called Prime Now,
Okay.
and Prime Now has also, I haven't searched it hard to see if can I get a bicycle or whatever, but I know electronics and groceries
You can
and all
probably
sorts
get
of shit.
a bicycle. It's not the bicycle
I may not
you
get
want.
right. Well, I think
but
they're building
yeah.
a big ass warehouse
Yeah.
in Dallas.
Yeah.
So Amazon, in a sense, was going after Walmart.
Yeah. Well, what they're also doing, Amazon's going to start delivering groceries.
Well, yeah,
the
that's what I'm
houses.
saying.
Yeah.
Prime Now, I can
Yeah.
get my. So now, how's that gonna? If I can get in 2 hours and don't have to leave the house. I can
Don't
get
you
my
think it's a
groceries.
good idea to leave the house? Is it really that much trouble to leave the house to go to the grocery store?
I'm a guy. You're asking me as a guy?
No, I'm serious.
Do guys
Is it
like to
really-
shop in general? No. If I could get my groceries, everything I needed, in 2 hours delivered to the
So
house.
really, all you need to buy from them is some boxer shorts,
I
so
just
you
really
have
need-
something to wear when you go to the door
That's
to
pretty
get
much
all the
it.
shit that's going to
Yeah.
ship in.
Yeah, and a computer.
Yeah, no, I just
what I mean.
well,
No.
and you may not even need to get the boxer shorts because they're going to drone it in for you.
They'll just drop it in the backyard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and you
they
can
could do that.
scurry out and then you're buck naked,
Buck naked.
and
yeah.
then come back in.
Ever been one to walk around the house naked?
Huh?
How about, I'm not a naked walk
You're
around
not a
the
naked
house.
walker around the house, sir?
Underwear.
Yeah,
Not naked. How about
Yeah.
you? Are you a naked walk arounder?
I don't mind it. Doesn't bother me.
Oh, see, something we don't know about you.
Yeah. It doesn't bother me. Do I do it all the time? No.
No.
But it doesn't. I don't have a problem with it.
It's not that I don't have a problem with it. It's just
There's a problem somewhere.
I have a problem
There is some sort of issue. Yes.
because I
would
put
think.
underwear on.
No, because you feel uncomfortable. What is it that makes you uncomfortable when you're naked?
Well, it's looking at my large penis all the time.
The anaconda.
I go, wow, that's just really big. I need to cover that. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I never. You know what it is? Maybe my dad walked around in his underwear, so maybe I'm just copying that.
Confident. Could be. Yeah.
Could be.
Well, fortunately, your dad didn't walk around naked.
See, I would not want that.
No.
You don't want to see your parents naked, do you?
No, you really don't. And
Yeah.
we've as we've
That happened before.
as we've gotten older, we've met some people that we know that they've talked about their parents walking around naked. It's just not a good idea. It's really not a good idea.
I don't
It's
think
just,
it is.
It's kind of it's creepy. I don't know.
Why
I
is
don't
that?
know if there's
I
some
think
sort
there's-
of psychological thing to it, but I'm sure there is. It's just creepy.
Well, you kind of like to think. I think somehow there's, especially a society with sex, you don't want to think of your parents that way.
No.
Yeah.
You want to
So maybe that's
think of them
an
as some
inherent.
sort of immaculate conception.
That you are the little
And
Jesus child.
Then we are the little Jesus child.
Yeah,
That's-
just
that-
thought of having parents having sex is one
Yeah.
thing, and they're seeing them naked would be another thing.
yeah.
You really don't want to. But is that being immature? It's like Germany. The
When-
kids
when you-
drink beer at 13,
when-
and then
when-
alcoholism isn't really a big problem.
But when you're a child, you are immature, so you don't want to be confronted with that.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't
Or
even want your
Walmart.
parent when you're
You don't
when you're
want Walmart
14.
either.
When you're 14, you don't want your parents to talk, let alone walk around naked.
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
much.
yeah.
They don't. Everything they do is embarrassing.
Yes.
And what is that? I guess that's just the phase to
It's
make the separation.
It's a phase, yeah, and I think that kind of gets better.
That happened with you. You had 3 kids when they
yeah.
became 15
Oh,
or
yeah,
16.
you
Were
just-
you the idiot and just shut up and go away?
We're still waiting to get some degree of intelligence, and they're
You're
30,
still?
32 and 28 or 29. Yeah,
So sometimes it's a little longer process. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like my grandfather Pete said, when they reach a certain age, when they're teenagers, they'd swear out an affidavit that you're the biggest dumbass on the planet. And at some point they look at you and go, "When did you get so smart?" And
Sometime
we're
in the-
kind of waiting on that.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Still-
I haven't hit yet.
Not for any of them?
No, not really.
Well, then how do you know it's going to hit?
But see, that's okay. They're all still trying to find their own way,
Right.
in
But
various
maybe they
things.
are smarter than you. Isn't it if you're a
Oh,
good
no.
parent? What?
No, they're not smart.
But isn't it if you're a good parent, you're supposed to evolve the kids should be better than you. Isn't that what every parent wants?
Well, yeah,
the kid to be smarter, and then they don't. They do and they don't.
No, they're smarter. They, you know, you can get rid of biases and bigotry and stuff like that, and the way you raise your kids. But each one of them, again, has their own takes. And as they get older and start to go to school, their friends and colleagues and teachers are writing those tapes. And you don't have any input on that. You don't even see it. You don't even know what it is.
Right.
And then it'll rear its ugly head, or not so ugly head, and you go, oh, that's cool. I didn't think about that.
So did you try to guide your kids away from certain kids or certain influences growing up?
That's a real good question. We would warn them, but then we would let them have their own experience. It's like one of them wanted to go to this summer Bible camp.
Right.
Okay. And we go, okay, here's what's going to happen at this. They're going to try and convert you before the week's over. They want you to, become one with them, and they're going to, scare you with hell and devil and damnation and all that kind of stuff. And there's a good chance they're going to keep you awake.
Keep you awake?
Yeah, keep you awake. Well, wear them down.
Bible camps? Oh, yeah.
And we talked to a friend of ours who was a minister, and he goes, oh, don't let them go to that. Don't let them do that.
Don't let them go to the Jesus camp?
Yeah. So we decided to go for it and let them go.
Right.
They came back. It's exactly what happened. It's exactly what happened.
And did they resist it because of that conversation with you?
Yes. They were able to resist it, which I think if we hadn't
had that conversation. Did the kid come back and say to you, you were right?
Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah, basically said, this is what happened. I said, well, that's what always happens in these things. That's the whole purpose of this, is to kind of get it to flip like that. And so, anyway, there's that, and there's other instances like that they've done things,
Right.
And said, these kind of...
Because I do think your environment does
be,
play a part.
But,
I think if you hang around with certain kids...
but what you're doing, as an adult, as a parent, what you're doing is you're saying, you're looking at your kids, and you're looking at these friends that they want to hang out with, and you're referring back to your tapes and your programming, and based on your experiences, you think that this person may be like that. So you're making assumptions that this person is going to be a bad influence, but it's all based on your experiences. And then what you do is you kind of give your kids a heads up, say, okay, stop. This is what I think may happen here, or this is what I think this person is like. And
when I was a teenager, I was hanging around with one particular person, and my dad told me this guy's no good, but back then it was like, who are you to say anything?
Yeah.
You're not exactly dad number one.
Yeah.
But it turned out he was right.
Yeah.
But it took me
so in that case,
20 years
he was
to
dad
figure it
number
out.
one because he had your best interest at heart, because he was going, this guy is going to be a dick, and he's going to do something. And so I think that's the biggest that's the best way to be a parent, is to try but to also sit back and let them make what you think is going to be a mistake after you've told them that you think it's going to be a mistake. That's hard. That's hard to do, because you got to just swallow hard and go, okay, let's see what happens.
Well, you got to trust that ultimately...
Well, you're trusting that
You're trusting in your child, are you not?
You're trusting in your child, but you're also trusting in what you've done prior to that it's going to do that. And so that's what, as all parents want to see some of this wisdom that you've imparted, or you thought you imparted, or maybe not wisdom is the right word, this insight is going to somehow resonate. Ooh. SAT word, resonate. That's a good one, don't you think?
Is that the word of the day?
No, I think it's going to be the other one.
Homogenize.
The homo word. Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, that's right. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, anyway.
So I agree with everything you're saying.
Yeah.
And that brings me back to my point that you have these wisdoms of experience that you try to impart on the kids, and they're going to listen to some of it, and some of them that they may not realize until 5 years later. But all those little moments speed up the evolution of that child. right?
Well, they speed it up, but they also
But and all those little moments evolve us as a species and as individuals, right?
It
can
evolves
go in
it,
either
but
direction.
it also sets the hook.
Yes.
Okay. When you have something like that go, oh, somebody told me that it was gonna burn me if I set my hand on the oven,
Right.
but I didn't believe them. I set my hand on it, but you're not going to touch that oven after that.
Right.
So when you have those kinds of moments that really set the hook, or really set that kind of thing in stone, then it becomes a definite part of you, and then that's a guidepost for you then to raise. Because I heard this one time, and I really thought this was great. That's what I told the kids. We're not teaching you how to be good human beings. We're teaching you how to be good parents.
Yeah.
That's really what a parent does.
Teaches the kids how to be good parents.
Yeah.
So that they can go.
They can
take
continue
that bar from there.
continue the species,
And then the species evolves.
and the species evolves.
And then we get Walmarts and.
Yeah, fuck Walmart. Okay, that's it. So anyway.
So there you have it.
Yeah. Another episode in the can.
Episode of wisdom. So I want to talk, because I don't think we do this enough. A couple things I want to encourage. We've talked to people to contact us.
Yes.
This episode. We also want people to subscribe to Carl and Mike.
Yep.
On iTunes, you can go to podjocks.com
Yep.
and go straight. It'll take us straight to our iTunes link to subscribe there. We're also on Stitcher, carlandmike.net/Stitcher. The other thing I'd like to encourage is on carlandmike.net website, we have a little box, an email box, and if you put your email in there, you will automatically get sent our show notes and links right into your email.
So that's a little Benny that they get?
It is the Benny, yeah.
Yeah.
And I might say detailed show notes so that if you want to skip over, for instance, our conversation early on about what did we talk about today? Well, I haven't done the show notes yet, but certain subjects, we'll as we kind of change subjects, we put it in the show notes, and you can see exactly where the timings and all that. And then we have links to what we've been talking about. So there may be a link about Walmart.
Or if you want to copy and paste some of our show notes and send them to some of your friends so you can be
a Carl
wise.
Mike supporter?
Well, yes, but be wise like we are.
Yes.
Yeah, that would
Pass
be good.
on the wisdom.
Pass on the wisdom.
Yes.
The wisdom according to Carl Mike.
I also think we should take this moment to announce that we will be launching a Carl Mike, the 5 questions, 5 minutes episodes that you may have listened to on the show. All of those have been videotaped, and so we're going to be launching a Carl Mike 5 questions, 5 minutes video podcast.
Yep.
Video.
Yep.
Live.
So
Not
you can
live,
actually
but
see
pictures.
us.
Yes. Where we answer some of the deepest, brilliant questions known to mankind.
And you will see.
And questions that you send us. So send us questions to Carl Mike, right?
Or don't, and we'll just make them up and say you did.
That's right. We
that
really got it covered either way.
We've got 5
no,
questions.
We want to hear them. We want to hear
I know,
from
but
them.
we
will do something if you don't.
Yeah,
Is that
that's
what
right.
You're saying?
We have we can go 5. We have 5 questions this week from Betty Jo Bialowski.
Yes.
You remember that song, Betty Jo Bialowski? Did you ever listen to Fireside Theater?
Yeah, but I don't know Betty Jo Bialowski.
Well, it's one of the episodes that he goes, Betty Jo Bialowski, but everyone knew her as Nancy. You know that Fireside?
That.
Yeah, that was good.
That was
Nick
good.
Danger, Third Eye.
Yes. So, anyway, I wanted to pass those encouragements on, and definitely the unofficial Carl Mike survey.
Yep.
Email us, carl@carlandmike.net, not mike@carlandmike.net, because that will never be read.
No, it really won't.
The carl@carlandmike.net has a chance. Because you are standing fast on your slow to adapt social media
I'm
technology.
not getting rid of my Smith Corona. No.
You're still there,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. Holding out
All right.
to the very end.
Yep.
Peace.
Out.